Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's call entitled Dynamically Link Your General Ledger Data to Microsoft Excel. We know your time is valuable, and we appreciate you sharing some of it with us today. With that said, I'd like to introduce our presenters. David Collins is the Director of Sales for F9. He has been at Infor since 2012 as the Channel Manager for Exact and its partners. He has been the Sales Director of the F9 team since the mid-2015 timeframe, and he works out of the Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada office. Our second presenter is Sam Pauline. He started with Infor back in 2014 and has been with the Infor F9 team for a little over a year. He moved to Minneapolis from Green Bay, Wisconsin to attend the University of Minnesota and currently works out of the Infor St. Paul office. He has been working with David Collins in the Exact space and getting more involved each month by working with resellers, many of whom he has had the chance to meet at the Macola Evolve conference last year. He is thrilled to work with one of F9's longest standing partners and looks forward to presenting F9's reporting capabilities to the Macola community today. Our final presenter is Vicki Basile. She is the Alliance Manager for Exact. After spending 10 years as the VP of Operations for an enterprise-level Macola customer, Vicki Basile joined Exact in November of 2014 as a territory sales rep and moved into channel management as the Alliance Manager in August of 2015. She holds her CPA and PMP certifications. She will be available to field customer questions after the presentation. Now I'd like to turn it over to David.
I'd like to talk about why would a Macola customer choose F9 for their financial reporting, go over some of the main F9 features that Sam will demo later, quickly show you a diagram of the F9 Macola integration. I find that typically puts everything together as far as how everything works, go over some of the licensing, maintenance, and services options that are available to you. And then for about 30 to 40 minutes, we'll turn it over to Sam and show you F9 in action, quickly go over the F9 viewer. It's an add-on to the report writer, and then we'll end it off with a summary, and then we've got a Q&A session after that. So for those of you who may not have heard of F9 before, we've been around for quite some time, since 1989. So we've got a 28-year history of very stable, profitable growth. We've joined the Infor family in 2007, so we were acquired back then. We still operate as an independent business unit within the Infor family. As far as F9 and Macola's partnership goes, it's been around for quite some time, for about 26 years since 1991. So we know the Macola product quite well. Our developers are very knowledgeable with the Macola ERP and its GL, so a lot of history there. Customer-wise, we've got a fairly broad reach. We've got over 30,000 customers who are using F9, over 70,000 installations or sites. We have a fairly large channel reach as well, over 200 or so resellers, 20 of whom are distributors, and hundreds of F9 customers who are also Macola customers. Integration-wise, you'll be happy to know that F9 works with all of the Macola ERPs. So whether it's Progression, whether it's ES, or the new version 10, we are compatible with all of those. So you're probably wondering why F9 for your reporting needs. So I've listed a few bullet points and just like to go over those in more detail. So first and foremost, we are an Excel-based GL reporting tool. So as Sam will show you in a few minutes, we live inside Excel. So it's really an added tab that you find within the Excel product. So the nice thing about it is when you launch Excel, F9 is right there ready to use. The logic layer, the way I kind of really define that is when you're using or when you're building your reports in Excel, the F9 piece is really a layer behind the scenes. It's really a series of formulas that you're really invoking when you're running the report to pull in that GL data. The nice thing about this product is it's very easy to use because really what we're doing is we're leveraging the Excel functionality. It's also non-IT centric, so it's not a product that really requires IT involvement, whether it's installation or otherwise, and it's very flexible. So you can write all sorts of reports. There's various methods in which you can build a report, whether it's using an ad hoc reporting tool, whether it's some existing, like it's a blank worksheet, whatever. So we can pretty much accommodate however you want to build those reports. The elimination of the need to format reports, this is really talking about using them over and over again. So typically we find customers like to build balance sheets, income statements, P&L versus budget reports. The nice thing about F9 is you can reuse these over and over again, so you're not having to rewrite from scratch and then reinvent the wheel at the same time. The nice thing about this product is because it's easy to use, it saves a lot of time. So a lot of people are manually inputting GL data into Excel. That takes a long time and is quite tedious. That's the beauty of this product, is it's automatically pulling in GL data into your Excel sheet. So that is where people see the low cost of ownership, because now they're seeing, okay, well, I'm now spending 80% less time inputting data into my Excel sheet. I can now do other things. And of course, consequently, the return on investment typically shows itself in within 30 to 60 days. The product has also been around, like I said, for 28 years, so it's been known in the industry. Finance people know who we are, so we've become a very trusted solution. And again, turnkey is really talking to the installation of the product. So again, it's a 20 or 30-minute installation. So it's very easy to get up to speed and up and running with F9 and Macola. So I just want to briefly touch on some of the main F9 features, many of which are going to be demoed shortly. So what you're going to see throughout this demo is the Excel-based functionality. So again, we're leveraging a lot of Excel's built-in functionality along with F9. And again, as I mentioned earlier, F9 is really a series of formulas. So that's going to help eliminate a lot of repetition or rekeying of numbers. Other features that exist are things like the drill down capability. So if you want to drill down by segment, whether it's transactional, departmental, whatever, you'll have the ability to do that. A really nice feature that exists within F9 is the budget write back. So let's say, for instance, you're importing budget data into your Excel sheet or your F9 report and you want to make changes to those budget values, you can easily write those updated values back to the source Macola GL. We also support consolidation, so whether it's locations, whether it's departments, whether it's whatever it is, we can consolidate and summarize into one report. I touched earlier on the ability to write reports in various methods. So one of the ways in which you can do this is through the ad hoc tool. So, I mean, you can build a report from scratch, of course, but the ad hoc tool will allow you to build a report in 2 minutes. So it's really a really quick way to build a report if you need something right away. We also have a scheduler, so that will allow you to schedule reports to run at a specific date and time, and also have it emailed out. You can have it go to a shared drive, however you like. And then lastly, the viewer. So you can think of the viewer as an extension of the report writer. So the report writer is going to allow you to build those reports from scratch. The viewer is really meant for the end user, the consumer of the report. That person may want to have some interactivity with that report, whether it's selecting a parameter, whether it's selecting or drilling down, for example. The viewer license will enable them to do that. Quickly, I just want to show you this integration map. So if you will, you can sort of visualize Macola's ERP on the left, so whether it's, again, progression, ES, or 10, and then you've got Excel on the right. And really what F9 is it sits in the middle. So it's almost acting as a go-between between Macola and Excel. So what it's doing is it's pulling the GL data from Macola, dumping it into Excel, and from there you can go ahead and build your financial report. So that's, again, a visual of how things operate between the two. I just quickly want to touch on what services and implementation information there is. So again, from an implementation standpoint, a very quick installation. Generally speaking, you're looking at anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes to get up and running. From a training standpoint, we do have a course, a 4-hour course that's delivered via WebEx with one of our consultants. And again, that's only if you've never used F9 before or maybe need to brush up on Excel. We do find that some people who've used, or I would say experts or intermediate to experts in Excel, can get up to speed with F9 pretty quick. We do have an optional 2-day report building workshop. Again, that's if you're not sure where to start with some of these. We do provide sample F9 reports that come with the product anyways as a starting point. But if you want to learn how to build from scratch, that might be something to consider. And from a maintenance standpoint, when you purchase F9 initially, there is a 1-year mandatory maintenance contract that comes with it. And it's typically 20% of the license price. And what you get are things like support. So whether it's phone support through our web portal, product updates, fixes, upgrade eligibility, that kind of thing. So staying current with your maintenance ensures that you've got the support available when you need it. Okay, so with that, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Sam, who will now show you for the next half an hour or so the F9 product. So Sam, over to you.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, David. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Sounds good. Well, let's get into the demonstration portion today. Appreciate you taking the first portion of the presentation, David. And so a lot of what we're going to be doing is going to be in Excel. Oh, excuse me while I get on the current slide. So first, before we start demonstrating the product itself, I wanted to show you the sample reports that we have. So if you look here, David mentioned you get 12 reports that come out of the box for you to leverage, and a lot of times these are nice because when you install F9 and go through the 20 to 30 minutes, it will sync up to your general ledger. So right now this is dummy demo data, but when you purchase the product, you'll have these reports out of the box ready to leverage while you perhaps look into training and familiarize yourself with the product. So the first thing I want to show you is here on the left. If we actually unhide this column, now you can start to see what the accounts look like on the left. So this is how we represent your different accounts in the general ledger. You can see that we have our 1,000 accounts, we have our 2,000 accounts, and then we have some roll up here. We have 3,000 all the way down to our 9,000 accounts. So what's nice with F9 is syntactically we can support a range. So if you want to, this is I guess a form of consolidation, although it's not the main way that we consolidate, but you can roll up these accounts for your bank accounts, for instance. So 10,010 to 10,015. Same thing here, you can see there's a range. So syntactically, that's represented just with 2 periods, no spaces. We also support lists, as you can see with accrued liabilities, and syntactically that's just a comma, no spaces, so it's just a combination of accounts. And then we can support a list and a range combination here, as you can see with state taxes payable. So a lot of different options for how you want to represent your data and what accounts you want rolling up and what accounts you want to see on their own line. So this, you can see the balance sheet, pretty standard, has conditional formatting. Now I want to point your attention to the control panel here at the top left. This is going to be a common theme today. Now some of you may be familiar with F9 and you'll be able to pick up a few a few new tricks, and it might spark your interest in training, and some of you this may be new. So we're going to cover most of the most commonly used functionality. So within the control panel, you have your different companies listed, you have your years, periods, type. This is called syntactically it's a wildcard, and so it's an asterisk on your keyboard, but what that means is it's representing all locations. So same thing with departments, it's pulling in all of your departments. So it's a bit of a shortcut that we can use within the control panel and elsewhere in F9. But I'm going to breeze through these just because they're pretty standard, and I want to save time. I have a lot to show you today in Excel. So here's your income statement. You have some graphs at the bottom, P&L versus budget. Again, the control panel is typically a staple within the F9 reports. It looks different for each report that you create, but here you can see a trial balance. So we could certainly look at previous years' income statement by location, has some graphs and formatting included, which is nice. We have headcount included in this report. Now that's not something we pull from the general ledger, so that's just wanted to point out the flexibility that if you have some sort of unit of measurements that you want to include in a report, you can certainly incorporate that into your formulas using Excel and F9. Excuse me, departmental income statement. So pretty similar to income statement by location. Nice to be able to look at these with the graph. Sales table, this is interactive, so if we want to look at a different product, you just need to click which is pretty nice. As you can see, sales by product. And now we're getting a little bit more into the boardroom quality. So when we say that F9 is boardroom quality, what we mean is number one, we can create those reports that have a comprehensive view. And really for the boardroom, unless they have a viewer license, which I'll show you, you want to create a report that has most of the information they need without them having to recalculate. So here you can only change by department. So it has a pretty comprehensive overview with graphs as well, and same thing with performance dashboard, right? This is getting into the boardroom quality where they can look at everything they need to see all in one report. And if they wanted to look at a different year, you could certainly send them the year of 2013. Otherwise, if they have a viewer license, they could change the different year and recalculate the report themselves, which is nice. Financial dashboard, similar idea as performance dashboard. Now we're going to get into the transaction table and pivot tables. So one thing I want to mention to you is that I'm actually not going to show you the transaction table and pivot table, but just bear in mind you will see the report wizard, and the transaction table and pivot table behave in a similar manner in the sense that the report wizard is something you launch and it walks you step by step through how to create the report. So selecting your columns and rows and titles and giving you a lot of different options. So here you can see the pivot transaction, and so now I'm going to jump out. I'm going to jump out of the sample reports and let's get into Excel and start looking into the functionality that most of our users use most commonly. So I'm going to start with the inquire and paste. Excuse my redundant language there. So I'm going to drag this open a little bit. I'm having a hard time getting rid of this. All right. 1 second here. Here we go. Okay. So inquire and paste. So let's say that you have a report that the CFO comes down and he says, I need to look at a quarterly sales report, by noon today. Well, this is a way that you can whip up that report in a matter of minutes and then use your time for analyzing and really being proactive in the accounting department as opposed to manipulating data in Excel for hours on end. So at the top you're going to see a control panel listed here. So you have your actual and budget information. We can keep that as actual. We want to look at actual data. We have 2 companies listed, 2 demo companies. As you can see, years, we'll keep it at the current year. The demo has us in 2014. Currency, we only have the one in the demo, so we do support multiple currencies, and we can certainly take questions on that at the end as well. So now we have our control panel set. Now what we're going to do is we're going to just start by building a bare bones report because I want to show you a few things you can do. We're going to pull from all locations. We're going to pull from all departments, and let's start by building with our first sales account. So there's a few different ways that you can pull your accounts, but I'll show you more about that later on here. So I'm going to hit get balance to give me a preview, make sure that that is correct before I paste it. You want to keep your reverse signs checked so that your debits and credits are displayed correctly. So now we can just hit GL paste. We can get out of this window. Okay, so now you can see it's starting to take shape. There's not that conditional formatting, and it's really like I said, the bare bones of the report, but I'm going to build this out a little bit further. So another way that you can pull your accounts is with the F9 list feature. So if I click here, now I have the option to do a lot of different things, but we don't need to touch the control panel because that is displayed accurately. It's displayed as is. So from here, really we don't need to touch the available list. We'll keep it in segments. We want to pull the rest of our sales accounts on the left because we want to start to build out a quarterly sales report. So one way that we could do it is we could pull them in one at a time, 30,110, 30,115, but instead we're going to use the wildcard and we're just going to pull them all. So you can use that in a number of different places. We do not need to generate descriptions. You can see we have a description here using the description formula. I'll give you an idea of what that looks like in a moment. I'll send this to my clipboard. Now I can just paste. So now I have this structure on the left that I just pasted in. I can actually drag this down. It's very interactive, very intuitive product. So now I just hit Shift F9, which calculates by the worksheet. F9 calculates the whole workbook. So now I have January. Now I can build this out even further from here. I can just drag this. I can turn this into an annual sales report if I want to, and hit Shift F9. And so the demo has us in March of 2014. So if you liked this report, you could save it, log back in April, hit F9, or at the end of April, and you would have your numbers updated here. So, you know, very, very easy to really create these reports, save them for future use. You really don't go through that much time creating them. So, you know, if you really liked this report, you could publish it to the viewer license, and they can continue to recalculate and recalculate by different parameters in the control panel. So I want to show you the zero suppress. We do support zero suppress. So if we want to zero suppress all, that actually gets rid of one of our accounts. I think it was miscellaneous was at 0. And we can certainly zero suppress by columns. So we do support that functionality. But now, while we're here, I'm going to get rid of these columns. Okay, so I want to show you a few things while we're here. First and foremost, I mentioned the formulas. If I double click here, this is the descriptions formula. So since we have these descriptions already here, that's why I didn't check the descriptions box, or I had unchecked the descriptions box. And you can see it's all based on absolute and relative cell referencing. So as long as it's pulling from these correct cells, which it is, then we know that our description is accurate. Same thing goes with the GL formula. So again, here you can see it's all pulling from the correct spaces. So everything should be in order in this case. All right, so that's what the formulas look like, and really that's the business logic. It's the brains behind the operations. There's about 4 core formulas that you would learn in training, and from there, there really shouldn't be many mysteries with the product. Most of our, like David said, since most of our F9 users are comfortable in Excel, usually it starts to click pretty quickly in training, and they can go at your pace and really teach you what you need to know. So I've shown you the formulas. I've shown you some of the ad hoc reporting. Now let's look at the drill down, because drill down is very highly utilized. You know, if you're looking at your values and you say, okay, well, it looks like we had an increase here in March. You know, what transactions occurred to get there? What sales occurred? You know, what's going on behind the scenes? If I drill down, hit the lightning bolt, we don't need to touch anything at the top. This is all consistent with what we have. So really, we just need to choose what we want to drill by. So we can drill by location, pulling from all 3 locations, which is correct because we clicked on this cell, which is pulling from all locations. Account, first sales account is what we're drilling into. Department, we're looking at both departments right now, all the way down to transaction. So transaction is really nice. You know, I've spoken with some users that this is you know, some of the main functionality that they use is they drill down into their report all day long to do analysis on what the hottest product is and you know, how they can make improvements. So you know, there's only 8 records listed here, but if you can imagine if there was 1,000, you know, it would be nice to be able to copy this information, so we can certainly do that. Paste it here. You can send it off to whoever needs to see it. So it gives you a little bit of context as to what we're looking at, shows the start and end date, so we drilled down into the month of March, and it shows you're looking at actual information, et cetera, et cetera. So like I said, drill down is a huge piece of functionality within F9, so if you're not familiar with it already, certainly something that we can help teach you. So now that we've looked at drill down, I want to show you consolidation really briefly, because it's very quick and very easy. So let's say we're looking at one of our companies. Let's say that we are a multinational. We have, you know, locations everywhere. We have 10 companies. Well, right now we're just looking at one. If you wanted to look at all of them, well, you can either choose, well, a better way to do that is to look at location. We'll move on to the companies. So you can see you can either choose all 3 with the star, or you can just choose one. What if I want to look at U.S. locations? I can't do it from here. So what you would do is you would right-click, open the F9 menu, and then so if you had 20 locations, they would all be listed here. You can just check the boxes at what you want to look at, hit OK. Same thing here. If I want to look at both my companies, well, I don't have the wild card listed here, so I could just go to the menu again, select them both, hit F9, and there my numbers update right away. So I mean, it's very quick, but that is how we perform the consolidation. And of course, we do roll up, and we can represent the data in different ways. But when we talk consolidation, typically that's how you do it, right? Within the control panel with the F9 menu, just by right-clicking. So, very useful piece of functionality, and really a huge business pain that drives companies to us and that we help to resolve. So we've looked at consolidation, we've looked at drill down. I want to show you one other trick, and then we'll get into building out some more reports. So I believe David had mentioned the analyze function. If not, the analyze function is a nice tool to have in your arsenal in the accounting department, because if you have one cell where things are off, or you had a slip up, you had a typo, this is going to allow you to retrace your steps back to that cell and find out where things went wrong. So if it's the end of the month and you're really trying to resolve a report, this would be the first place that you start with F9. So let's just say I made a rudimentary mistake and I didn't know the product, and I tried to pull in all my sales accounts here, even though they're all listed below. So this isn't something that you would make, but it's going to serve a good purpose for us. I can just hit the Analyze button. I'm going to move this first. All right, so this window pops up. Now I really don't need to change anything in this data. Again, this is control panel, so really don't need to manipulate that. Drill into the accounts used. We'll do the current sheets. Fantastic. We can start the analysis, and it should give us an idea of where things went wrong. So as you can see, it has a timestamp, which is nice. Again, providing context of the settings. Shows what accounts were excluded here. So in this case, it's all accounts except for our sales accounts. So if we look at this, what this column here is, this is saying how many times is this being referenced. And so this is a quarterly report right now. So each description, each product line should be referenced 3 times. So we see sales product line A is being referenced 3 times. That's correct. Everything else is being referenced 6. So we know there's a duplication, because that shouldn't be happening. So that lets us know, okay, it looks like we may have represented things twice in this first cell. If I go back, oh, yep, it looks like we're representing our sales accounts more times than we need to. Change that back to 30,100. Then if I hit Analyze again, it shows that everything is indeed being referenced 3 times. So we know that we've resolved it, and that portion is correct. So again, very useful, a piece of functionality to have in your back pocket if you're in a tight spot at the end of the month. So now that we have looked at the Analyze, let's go ahead and build this report out a little bit further. All right, I'm going to delete these columns. So I just want to show you the flexibility of F9. So you use the inquire and paste, and you get this control panel on the left with your parameters, but this is by no means set in stone. So if I wanted to even cut January and add it, I certainly could. I could call this period. If I wanted to cut actual, put it over here, then I can change this into an actual versus budget report. And so this just shows the flexible nature of F9, how intuitive it is. Most users, when they play around with it, they really realize the flexibility of really what you can do. So now I want to drag this cell over to create my budget column. Okay, so if I double click here, it looks like everything is correct. Everything is being referenced. My absolute and relative cell referencing is accurate, but if I double click here, because this is the first time I'm making this report, you want to check your cell referencing. I know it's off, and that's to be expected when you make a few changes. So I see it's referencing C9. I just need to hit B9. So I change that from C to B. Looks like we need to add a $sign. And then we need to make one more adjustment. It's hitting E9 currently. I need it to hit F9. So I just go in, find E, change it to F. All right, last change I want to make. I want to make sure that my budget values are positive. So that's what the N represents, and the NGL formula is an integer. So if you want to change the integer, just get rid of that, and there you have it. So now that I have this displayed correctly, I can actually drag it down just like I did when I was doing the inquire paste, hit F9. You can make a few changes. I want my sales discounts to be negative, sales returns to be negative. Just add an N right into the GL formula. And then you can even take it a step further if you wish and add a variance column. So this is using Excel knowledge that you already have. This isn't anything related to F9, but me just equals, all right, minus budget, great. All right, if I hit F9, and there we have it. So as you can see, it looks like we're in the negatives in the variance column, but that's just because I was doing some manipulating with the data. So with that being said, yep, that is correct. So with that being said, I mean, if you wanted to even do a subtotal, you certainly could. Now this is just again using your absolute using your current Excel knowledge. So going to the auto sum, so I can find it here. All right, there we go, and then you can even drag that over. Hit F9, there you have it. So you can show the variance at the bottom with a subtotal. You can add some conditional formatting if you wish. And there you have it. So that in a nutshell just shows the flexibility. Now bear in mind, you may be thinking, well, I'm not sure how to do this. You know, I wouldn't be able to learn this off the top of my head. Well, that's to be expected. There's a slight learning curve, and the idea with F9 is you create these report templates that are specific to your business at the beginning. You go through a little bit of growing pains, like with any good software product, and from there you just need to hit F9 to update your data. So, you know, it may be a little bit time consuming, but you're going to get it at the beginning, but you're going to get a return on that investment very quickly, as David mentioned earlier. So, moving on. So if you think that was an easy way to whip up a report, I want to show you the report wizard, because I know the report wizard, our users seem to love that as well. And it's very commonly utilized. So I'm going to launch that, get this window in a good place. All right. Now, here we go. Okay, so select the company that you want to pull from. We're just going to do the company one. Keep it simple. All right. Okay, select the report rows. So that's going to be your main account segment that you want to look at. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick with the theme we've done today and pull in all of our sales accounts and keep it pretty simple here, just to give you a frame of reference. So we can just send those over, very easy. We can even add a subtotal to the bottom if we want. We can, so now something that's kind of nice is you can create a range here if you don't feel comfortable doing it. Building a report from scratch syntactically, you can do it within the report wizard. So I can just create range, puts it right in there. I can give it a title even. Maybe these are the big sales accounts that I want to look at. Call it the big sales. Fantastic. So we have a title, we have a range, we have our sales accounts. We're on our way here. So now we're going to look at the columns. So, you know, are we looking at multiple periods? Are we looking at departments? Are we looking at companies? Really, it all depends on how you want your data to be represented. So we're going to stick with what we've done, and we're going to do the quarterly sales report, January, February, March. We'll add a description. It's always nice to see the product line that we're looking at. So you can see there's a lot of different options here as well. So sometimes it's nice to do, you know, previous year to date. I know that we get a lot of those types of requests. So this is one way to do it. So now we can hit next. Set the remaining axes. This is, I mean, we can go current year, pull from all locations, all departments. I'm going to pick it up a little bit here so we have time for questions. I have a few other things to show you. So conditional formatting, a couple options here. Give it a title, quarterly sales report. So you want to keep the reverse sign checked so your credits are positive, debits are negative, zero suppressed we can do as well. Now if we hit finish, it just creates this report for us right away, has the formatting included. So again, this is a great way to whip up a report, you know, using any combination of accounts and representing them, you know, however you see fit in terms of different periods, different locations, etc. So that's the report wizard. One other thing I want to show you, I'm going to cover the scheduler because scheduler is really useful. So let's say I like this report and I want to schedule it to not only be calculated, so it'll calculate the report without you even opening Excel. You can also have it be distributed to, you know, whomever. So I'm going to hit OK. The report manager is something I should mention. It is a extension of the scheduler, so it allows you to do some hierarchical filtering. So it's really a step above the scheduler. So if you have a really complex set of reports, that maybe you want different variations of your income statement. You know, you want it to be run for location B and location C in department B, and different combinations of those parameters. Well, this is a great product for that. So just log in. Bear with me. Sometimes the computer's a little slow. Okay. Well, let's see. Well, you know what, I'm not sure what's going on with my login credentials here, but either way, the scheduler basically is using the Windows Task Scheduler. I apologize for that. I may not have updated my password recently, but basically it's a 4-step process, and it's just using, like I said, your Windows Scheduler. And really what you need to know is that it allows you the option to attach a static report. These are not going to be dynamic reports unless they have a viewer license or report writer license, of course. Then they'll have their F9 add-in at the top. But you can have the report be calculated to run every Monday and attached in an email. Or you can just schedule your reports to be run. They don't need to be sent out to anyone. So you can have them distributed in HTML and PDF in a number of different formats that we support within the scheduler. So you can learn all about that in the help in the About section with F9. So basically it just allows you to automate your report distribution and calculation on a time or event-driven basis. So some people like to do it every first of the month or every last of the month. You can actually choose from a calendar within the scheduler. So it's just nice if your accounting department operates on rules like that, where it's not, you know, once a week, but it's a set date each month. So this, and again, the report manager is, the scheduler comes built in at no added cost. The report manager is an add-on product, which is very useful. It's a new piece of functionality that we actually created at the request of a lot of our users who have had similar functionality in the past. So now I want to show you the budget right back, and we're going to breeze through this. So let's create a budget report really quickly. The way that we can do that is we can go to our chart here, so our F9 chart. Now the only change we need to make is we need to make this budget. Everything else we can keep as is. The only change, so this is how you represent your, usually it's departments, accounts, locations. So if I want to pull in all of my accounts, again, use the wildcard. We'll do what we've done today, which is a quarterly report. So we'll do periods 1, 2, and 3. Now we just need to hit find. Now we can paste that information. Okay, so to do the budget write back, you know, let's say we just uploaded this data. We want to write it back to the Macola GL, and we want to use F9 because, you know, sometimes the accounting system, if there's a lot of people on it, it can be quite cumbersome loading the data. So really, we just want to make a drastic change to prove that it does indeed write it back to the system. So I'm going to just decrease this. I'm going to cut these in half. Pardon me here. Let's change this to 150. Change this to 150. Okay, now we got it here. We're going to change this to 100. All right. Change this to 200. Okay, got it. All right, so now we just need to do the budget write back. To write these changes back to your source general ledger, you just want to highlight the rows in which the changes were made, and you want to include the header as well if you can. So now I have it highlighted. Just hit budget write back. This is very simple. You don't need to touch anything here. Just hit write. Great, budget write back completed. So now when we create this same budget report with the same methods, that should have changed, and since this is a hot link, since we're pulling right from the GL, we should get the same results with these changes updated. And it looks like those changes were indeed saved, because when we pulled it again, they were instantaneous. It was instantaneously updated. So again, if I hit F9 here, because this is a budget budget column, that number changes as well. So a couple different ways that we can prove it was indeed written back to the source. Now, last thing I want to show you today is the viewer license. It looks like we're doing pretty good on time here. I'm going to whip up a report just because I want to show you that we can indeed drill down into the viewer license. So I'm just going to build this report really quickly, and then I'll show you a few slides on the viewer as well. Okay. And the only reason I'm doing this is because this is demo data, you can only drill down into certain areas. So just wanted to prove to everyone that it can indeed handle that. Okay. Hit F9, turn this into a quarterly report. Okay. So let's look at the viewer license before we go any further. All right, let me get rid of my panel here. Okay, so the scenario for the viewer license, the decision makers, they want to be able to run these reports on their own without constantly going back and saying, listen, I want this report with companies A and B and locations C, D, and F. You know, instead of making all these different variations of the reports and having them sent as a static report, you know, and bogging down accounting and finance, this enables you to really free up from top down and bottom up in the sense that these decision makers can make these changes within the control panel and the parameters that they have on their own. So accounting can focus on being proactive, you know, doing analysis, identifying trends within the reports, and really creating additional reports that can be useful as opposed to really that back and forth of, okay, I need this and now I need this type of thing. So that'll start to become more clear once you see the product in action. So the F9 viewer ribbon is really just a condensed ribbon. Essentially, it's just, it has, you know, you can calculate, you can drill down, you can do zero suppress, you have some license manager to activate and deactivate, but it's nice because what I say is, you know, they can't screw up the report if they wanted to because you can only modify certain things, which you'll see on the next slide. I think this is the best way to understand the viewer licenses with this graphic. So the report writer is an all-you-can-eat license. You can create and modify the formulas and the reports, the structures of the reports. You can schedule them. So you're in charge of just, you know, determining when they're calculated and where they're going. Whereas the viewer, you can just run the reports, which just means calculate. So you can run the reports for different companies. Anything in the control panel you can change and recalculate. You can drill down. You can save those reports and log back in later. So it really, really allows the C-levels or whomever is viewing these reports to operate more independently and allow their accounting team to, like I said, be more proactive and not just, you know, constantly manipulate the data and send them different variations. So let's go back. Okay, so let's go back into Excel and I'll show you what that looks like. Oops. All right, so from here I can actually, so what I want to do is I want to save this report. So I have the report writer and the viewer license here. You would never have both. You would either have one or the other. I do just for demo purposes. So the first step I want to do, I have a report that I like. I want to publish it to the viewer. Well, first I need to save it. I need to save a report writer copy for myself. So I'm going to just save it to my desktop. We'll call it Book 2. Great. Now that I've saved my copy as the report writer, I'm going to publish this to the viewer. And you want to enable parameters so that they can recalculate by those parameters. Now you want to save this as the viewer file. So give it a different name. This is me saving it so that my viewer can open it under a new name, and then I have my original copy as well. So just hit save. Looks like the formulas have been converted, which is great. So now I can just jump out of here. Now I can open Book 3. I'm going to put my viewer hat on. This is me. Oops, I just had a report published to me. So what that means is that I'm going to put my viewer hat on and I see if I can drill down, and this is what the viewer ribbon looks like. As you can see, it's just very condensed. So, you can still recalculate by different parameters. You can hit F9, or you can hit the calculate button for the worksheet. Go back. You can still consolidate. So if I wanted to consolidate with the viewer license, I absolutely can. Hit F9. Okay. And then lastly, you can also drill down. And as you can see, this is what I meant, is this is all grayed out. You cannot change the information in the control panel, but you can still drill down and provide that data to anyone who needs it. So it's nice because it's limited liability, if you will, with the viewer license, because they just use it for to get the answers that they need, whereas the finance department can make those changes to the structure and write it any way that they see fit. So that actually concludes our demo portion for today. I'm sure that a few questions have come up. So I believe David is going to wrap up with the PowerPoint, and then of course we'll give you time for questions. So at this time, I am going to transfer presenter to you, David.
Okay.
All right.
There we go. Great. Again, Sam, thank you very much for that demo. I hope that was proven to be very insightful for all of you. I think it makes sense to summarize everything now. So based on today's discussion, these are probably the main points. So first of all, F9 is a proven solution. So we've been around for over 28 years. We've got a lot of clients out there, over 30,000, many of whom are Macola customers, and we can offer you an integrated solution. So again, because we've been partnering with Macola since 1991, that is a very solid solution, and we've got the support to back it up, so you're definitely in good hands. The second point is really the business logic. So as you were able to see, you're not exposed to those data structures or those F9 formulas, unless, of course, you want to start modifying them and changing them up. So it's nice. So it's very seamless. The product is what I would define to be turnkey. So whether it's deployment, ease of use, maintenance, how to learn the product, it's very quick. You can get up to speed and up and running very fast. The cost of ownership is low versus having to do everything manually. It's a time saver. And then the last point is maintenance. So it's really good for non-technical users. It doesn't require a lot of IT involvement necessarily unless it's extreme support issues. So it's very nice. It's self-containing for the finance team. The last point is performance and scalability. That's just something to mention, is that whether it's large sets of data and that grows over time, F9 will still perform in the same manner, will still recalculate at the same speed, etc. So that, in a nutshell, is the F9 product. We would like to make a formal announcement today on an F9 promotion that we're offering in conjunction with Exact. So those Macola customers who make an F9 purchase by the end of April, specifically the 26th, will receive 20% off their purchase. And the discount applies to the report writers as well as the add-on products. So whether it's the viewer license, the report manager, you name it, it is all applicable to the 20% discount. So if you have questions regarding pricing, you can certainly reach out to your Macola contact for information. So before we get into the Q&A, I think Julie has a poll ready to run, and what we would like to do is poll the audience, if you will. Specifically, the question is going to be, what Macola product are you currently using, so whether it's Progression, ES, or 10, or if you're not using a Macola product currently and you're considering one, what is that product that you're considering? So Julie, are you able to make that available?
Yes, I just opened the poll, so everyone should be able to see it. We'll give people a few minutes, and they're, well, just a minute or two. People are responding. About 50% have voted so far, so we'll give everyone another second or two to see where we land on it. Okay, well, it looks like, according to the people on the line, and I'm going to close it here. Oh, well, actually, I've got a couple more jumping in, so I'll give another second. All right, let's see. Anybody else going to vote? All right. Got a few more coming in here. All right, well, I will close this out, and you should be able to see the responses here in a second. And there they are. So can you see those, David?
You bet.
Okay. So that's kind of how it shaked out, or shook out.
All right, so we have an EM10 crowd here.
Yeah, and yep, exactly.
That's
so
good, isn't it?
Yep.
Wonderful.
Okay.
So I think with that being said, I think we're ready to start our Q&A session. So Julie, I don't know if you want to monitor,
Sure.
or, monitor that. Okay.
Yeah, and I have a number of them that have been submitted. Some of them may be quick answers, but there's a number of them here. So the first one is, does it work with all versions of Excel?
Yes, and that's a very good question. So that's the one thing that I can, I'm proud to say is that because we're an Excel add-in, we ensure that we are compatible with all versions of Excel. This goes back to Excel 2007 and will work with versions, the current versions being 2016 and Office 365. So that's the cloud offering, and that is also a supported version of Excel as well. So great question.
Okay, the next question is, we use the Excel add-in in ES. Is there a need for F9?
That's also a very good question. So again, that's going to really determine, that's really, at the end of the day, it's what you're comfortable with. We've had feedback on both. Feature-wise, very similar. What we can really say is that the F9 product was designed specifically with the financial person in mind. So it's a product that you can get up to speed on very fast, very little in terms of training required, installation very quick, that kind of thing. Again, I can't really comment on all the functionality of the add-in, but I do know that our product, again, has the ability to create ad hoc reports. If you need something written really fast, it has that functionality to do so. Also, you've got the budget write-back feature, which allows you to make changes to budget data and write it back. So again, there are some potential differences, again, mostly on the ramping up side of things. And again, we've had customers use F9 before who have switched to ES or 10, have used the add-in, and just for whatever reason prefer what they've used before. So again, it's really going to be a matter of preference. That's how I would answer that.
Just to add my 2 cents there, just from what I understand since I joined the F9 team, it's our main focus is reporting. So we're constantly investing in whether it's development and time and making sure that we're compatible with all things such as Excel and really the versions of Office. Certain server, running on a server, things like that, being a best of breed product, those are things that we pay very close attention to, just because, we really only do reporting. So I just wanted to put that in there as well.
There's one other thing I want to add to the previous question that someone asked about Excel. I think it's also important to mention that not only do we support the newest versions of Excel, but we also support the 32 and 64-bit versions of those products. And we are noticing that customers are moving to 64-bit for various reasons, whether it's speed, whether it's the reports are getting larger, longer. So the response is quicker with a 64-bit Excel version. So I think it's important to just remember that, not only do we support the versions of Excel, but the bit of Excel. So whether it's 32 or 64, I think that's also important to mention.
Okay, so another question is, what tables does F9 use? Just GL or all of the Macola tables?
At this time, it is strictly GL. We are currently working with another distributor on reporting off other tables, specifically AR and AP. That is an initiative that we've started in the last couple of months, and we are gradually going to roll out. So if Exact would like to take that on in conjunction with us, we'd be happy to do it. So It is something that's currently in the works, and again, it's a gradual rollout. Understand that that is a very lengthy development project, so it has to be handled on a case-by-case, but that is something that we would definitely consider, yes.
Okay, great. And sort of along those same lines, someone asked, will this work with synergy tables, and how is it linked?
I may defer that to someone who knows Synergy better. I'm not entirely familiar with that product. I don't know if it's
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yep.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Vicki.
It actually works with the Macola GL tables. It does not sync to Synergy, as far as I know.
Okay, great. All right, well, we have another question. Someone is asking, as a Macola reseller, will we have the F9 included, or will we have to apply to be a reseller of F9?
Read that question again. I didn't understand it.
Well, I believe
It's a partner of ours asking?
Correct. It says, as a Macola reseller, will we have the
I think I know what they mean. Well,
included?
I mean, we have you know, we have agreements with specific resellers. Go ahead, Vicki.
The partners sell our channel. Our solution providers sell F9 through us. So there are some legacy partners with F9, but at this time, F9 is not doing direct reseller contracts with F9. So if you're a partner, you would contact Angie or our sales ops to place your order.
Okay, great. So just a few more questions here. Does consolidation work with multiple divisions in a single Macola database and with multiple Macola databases?
Yeah, I can jump in here on this one, David. Absolutely. You know, as I mentioned in the demo, that's just one of the most highly utilized pieces of functionality. So whether it's multiple databases, multiple locations, multiple companies, we can easily consolidate with any number of options and combinations within Excel. So absolutely, we can handle that.
How does Scheduler send reports to recipients via Outlook? If yes, are those reports static?
Yeah.
I can take that one. So the answer is, I mean, you can send out reports in various formats, whether it be PDF, HTML, Excel, but of course those are static. If you want some interactivity with that report, then, you know, obviously the viewer license would give that end user the ability to go beyond a static report from an interactive perspective. It's not using Outlook. It's, I believe, if I recall the scheduler, it's simply a matter, I think it can access your Outlook contacts, I believe. So when you, it's too bad we couldn't actually see it, but I mean, when you get to a screen where you select whether or not you want to have the email or the report emailed out, there's a checkbox. And if you leave it unchecked, everything grays out. But if you check it, then you can go ahead and select specific individuals that you want to email the report out to. So it will access contacts.
Yep, and it has the Outlook functionality in there as well. So, I mean, you can CC, BCC people, so it's like having Microsoft Outlook residing right within Excel, which is nice.
Okay, great. All right, one last question. Does the budget write back feature write back to the Macola GL budget table?
Yeah, absolutely. I can handle that one just since I showed the product. Yes, it absolutely does. And again, some accounting systems, it really varies from company to company. So some may use the budget write back more if they have a lot of users constantly on it. That's a quick way to just write it back, because it's the same way that F9 can automatically pull that information very quickly from your GL. We can just as quickly write it back to the source GL as you saw it updated instantaneously. So it's a time saver, and I believe it's a unique capability that F9 has compared to a lot of tools.
Okay, great. All right, well, I think that's it. I think we're a little past the top of the hour here, so I'd like to thank David, Sam, and Vicki And for everyone who's attending today's webinar, if you have any other questions, please contact Vicki Basile at Vicki, V-I-C-K-Y .basile at exact.com. And once you leave today's webinar, you will receive a survey on the presentation. We greatly appreciate it if you would share your feedback with us. And on behalf of Exact, we'd like to thank you for joining us and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Julie.
All right. Yep.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone, for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.